"Johnny, what are you saying?" Pam stuttered, hearing such terrible words from me, her husband. "Another woman? That can't be. Look at me." She stepped close, trying to wrap her arms around my face and make me meet her eyes, but I pushed her away roughly. "Listen, I don't want a big fight right now. Let's just act like adults, part quietly, and pretend nothing happened." Tears streamed down Pam's face, her body trembling. She took several deep breaths, trying to calm herself. "Oh God, what are you trying to do? Play on my sympathy?" Pam asked with a sneer. "That won't work. When did you become so heartless? Have you forgotten all I've done for us? How I fought for you after your accident? Is this your gratitude? Is some other woman worth throwing away our happy years? And what about the kids? How do I explain to them that their father left us for someone else?" "Pam," I raised my voice, "what's the point of all this now? You want to feel sorry for yourself? Go ahead. You're always the saint, and I'm the bad guy. Feel better now? We can talk about the past all day, or face the truth. Our marriage is dead. We've only been staying together for the kids. All our dinner talks are just about them. I love our boys, but it's too much. Didn't I try to get your attention, Johnny? Didn't I try to have real talks with you? Didn't I try to change things?" Pam was furious. "You always had excuses. Work, important meetings. You even convinced me there were no problems. How was I supposed to fix things, Johnny? Tell me." "Pam, you're forcing me." I sighed deeply, seeing her nod silently. "You asked for it. Do you know how Nina is different from you? It's her youth and energy. She's only 5 years younger than you, but it shows. Sure, some folks are naturally good-looking, but most people work at it. Regular visits to the salon, exercise, massages, nice perfume, sexy clothes, these are basic. Inner qualities matter, but so do these things. And energy. Some women make you feel alive and motivated. You want to show your best side for them." My eyes shone brighter than usual during this confession. Unfortunately for Pam, I was truly in love. "But you felt the same way about me once, didn't you?" Pam barely managed to say. Hearing my words was tearing her heart to pieces. "I mean, this novelty is temporary. If Nina went through the same path—" "These are excuses, Pam," I interrupted angrily. "Instead of admitting your mistakes, you blame others. Life will be hard with that attitude." "But," I looked at my watch and smiled, "that's not my problem anymore. You wanted honesty. You got it. My conscience is clear. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go." "Are you really leaving so easily?" Pam couldn't believe this wasn't a bad joke, but harsh reality. "Will you live with her now?" "For now, yes. And then we'll see. Our divorce process, with minor kids and shared property, might take a while. I'd like it over quickly, but I know that's impossible. We'll need patience. We'll divide the property fairly. I'll take care of the kids, but won't forget about myself. You'll have to remember what work's like again, Pam. You've probably gotten used to just taking care of the house and kids." "You never cease to amaze me, Johnny," Pam replied dryly, gathering all her willpower. "Good luck with your new life. Please don't come back unless necessary. As for the kids, I'll tell them everything myself. It's a shame you didn't find the courage to do it, but I'll manage. I'm used to it. That's what I've always loved about you, Pam, your independence." I laughed, and giving her a somewhat guilty look, left the house. Watching me leave from the window, Pam barely made it to the bedroom, closing the door behind her and lying on the bed. The room was silent, except for the ticking of the wedding clock, which usually comforted her. The fact that the clock was a wedding gift also brought a tender warmth. Amazingly, these simple clocks had worked perfectly for all 13 years of our marriage, with batteries rarely needing to be replaced. "It's a miracle," Pam used to say with a smile. "They seem eternal." "And what did you expect, darling?" I gently hug her. "They're as strong and reliable as our union. They'll last till our golden wedding anniversary." Recalling those words now, Pam wanted to howl like a wolf. Or maybe she should get up, take the clock off the wall and throw it away. Why should they remind her of her broken heart? Eternal clocks, eternal feelings. If only. She was about to carry out her plan when she suddenly stopped. Would it change anything now? No, it would be a foolish act. And she couldn't bring herself to do it. The pain was too intense. If only I could sleep now, Pam thought. So deeply that I wouldn't hear or feel anything. Otherwise, I don't think I can cope with this pain and sorrow. Maybe I should take a sleeping pill? The neurologist prescribed them for my sleep problems after all. Instead of one, maybe I should take several. No one would notice my absence anyway. Who needs me now? But then she remembered the boys. I can't leave them alone, she thought. No, that's foolish. My children are everything to me. For their happiness and well-being, I'll endure anything. I won't give up. And Johnny, God will judge him. Thinking about the kids, Pam looked at the clock. It was almost 5 p.m. She needed to get up immediately and start getting ready. In all her heartbreak and suffering, she had forgotten it was time to pick up her younger son from kindergarten and her older son from school. Fortunately, these places were nearby, so she'd make it in time. 10 minutes later, Pam stood in the hallway, looking at herself in the mirror. The sight was pitiful. If this morning she had looked happy and relaxed, now her reflection was sorrowful. Dim eyes, a mute grief etched on her face, and slumped shoulders. What a beauty, Pam laughed bitterly. Well, the hair is a mess. A hat will cover it. The swollen eyes sunglasses should help. It's sunny today after all, so no one will be surprised. And the tired look. I'll mask it with some makeup if there's any left. After completing these tasks, Pam left the apartment. Taking a deep breath of fresh air, she briskly walked to get her children. She could have driven her car, but she didn't risk it. In her current state, it was too dangerous since driving requires attention and concentration. A walk would be better for clearing her mind. Mama, why didn't you use the car today? Asked her older son, Dave, as they entered the apartment. Come on, get inside, Pam urged the kids. Don't stand in the hallway. Is Dad home? Asked her younger son, Sam, with interest. Take off your coats and wash your hands first, she ordered sternly, trying to distract the kids. We'll talk over dinner. Reluctantly, the boys began to follow her instructions. Pam, entering the kitchen, stopped in confusion. What was she going to feed the children? She hadn't prepared anything during the day. The meat she had taken out to thaw in the morning was still waiting. The vegetables nearby also reminded her of her grand plans for dinner. No, friends, Pam pushed the ingredients away. Not today. Maybe tomorrow I'll get to you. But today, we'll manage with the basics. So, what do I have in reserve? She opened the cupboard. Ah, a can of stew and pasta. Perfect. Dinner is on. After setting the table, Pam nervously called the kids to dinner. She silently prayed that the boys wouldn't immediately start asking about their father, hoping she could divert their suspicions. Mama, Dave began determinedly, you still haven't told us why you picked us up without the car. Did it break down? Yes, Pam responded with a smile. Exactly, it broke down. Bad timing, of course, but it's nothing serious. We'll fix it. For now, we can walk. It's healthier anyway, right? The weather's nice and warm. It's more convenient with the car, Dave insisted. And I got an A today. Want to hear how? Yes, we'd love to hear. Pam smiled again, though her chest ached with pain. How bittersweet it was to listen to her kids' carefree stories, knowing that everything would soon change. Very soon, her boys, who adored their father, would be deprived of seeing him regularly. And how was she supposed to explain it to them without hurting their young minds? Maybe she should consult a psychologist. A specialist would surely know the best approach in this situation. It was the most sensible thought she'd had all day. Mama, are you listening? Dave's voice pulled her from her sad thoughts. Of course I'm listening. Well done, son. I'm proud of you. Mama, do you feel all right today? Sam asked, his concern touching her deeply. Her heart pounded. Such a simple question, yet filled with warmth and care. If only she could discuss everything with them. No, I'm fine, she said. Just a bit of a headache, but that's nothing. Adults often get them when the weather changes. Don't worry, Sam. Are you finished? Now go to your room and rest a bit. Dave, do you have a lot of homework for tomorrow? No, not much. We can do it later, Dave answered. Reluctantly, Pam led the kids out of the kitchen, closed the door behind them, and began to tidy up. Silence surrounded her. She glanced at the clock on the wall and smiled sadly. Usually around this time, Johnny would come home, tired and sometimes irritable, but always familiar. How Pam loved that feeling when he would quietly enter, sneak up behind her in the kitchen and gently hug her. I missed you, he would whisper in her ear. And I missed you more, she'd reply, proud of their marriage. In such a complicated and unstable world, meeting the right person, creating a loving union, overcoming many obstacles, and not losing the bright feelings was a rare and precious happiness. They had met 15 years ago. It was a lucky encounter. Johnny and Pam had mutual friends who, without realizing it, brought them together on a summer day at a friend's birthday party. It was a miracle. Always shy and charming, Johnny became bold and confident upon seeing Pam, a smart and beautiful girl. He wondered how, despite their mutual friends, he hadn't met her sooner. The polite, kind, and very pleasant girl won his heart at first sight. Late in the evening, as they said goodbye, he firmly promised to win her over. She smiled, not taking his words seriously, and went home, not suspecting how their lives would unfold. Johnny began courting Pam beautifully, constantly organizing surprises, making cute gifts, and almost serenading her under her window. Moved by his sincere and caring attitude, Pam soon gave in and allowed herself to become truly happy. Their friends, witnessing their union, couldn't hide their joy and pride for the couple. After all, few young people were ready for such seriousness. "Mama, I'm getting married!" Pam exclaimed happily, coming home from another date with her beloved. "What?" her mother started, shocked. "Is it true, daughter?" "Of course, Mama. Look, I even have a ring." Pam proudly showed her right hand, displaying Johnny's gift. "It's all real, see? I know traditionally he should have come over to ask for my hand first, but we couldn't wait. Celebrating our anniversary today, we were overwhelmed with emotions and decided not to delay. We want to get married, start a family, have children, and be the happiest." "That's commendable, Pam," her mother hugged her. "You're young, in love, smart, and capable. I'm sure you'll succeed. But from my experience, I'll tell you, you need to work on your relationship. Feelings alone aren't enough. You need to grow together, spiritually." "Thank you for the advice, Mama," Pam began softly. "I'll take it into account, but I don't think it will be necessary. Johnny and I have discussed everything from the start." "What exactly?" her mother asked with a tender smile. "First serious feelings were always so wonderful. Always talk things out, don't hide our true feelings, be open, and add honesty, loyalty, and choice. Every day we must choose each other anew, surprise, delight, and love each other. In that case, everything will be fine." "Of course it will be, Pam," her mother agreed. Soon the young couple married. Wanting to become independent and self-reliant quickly, they rented a room in a dormitory. Their parents found this idea absurd, thinking they could live with them instead of in an old room. But the young couple insisted. They understood that since they decided to create a family, they needed to stand on their own and achieve their goals together. "And how do you see our family in the future, dear? Say, 10 years from now?" Pam asked Johnny tenderly. "Do you want the truth?" Johnny smirked. "I imagine us having resolved all our financial issues, being debt-free and completely independent. We'll have our own cozy, spacious apartment with several rooms, each uniquely decorated. Our bedroom, living room, and kids' room. Can you imagine how great that will be, Pam? Of course, we'll realize our potential and earn well. I'd wish for you to relax more in the future and focus on family matters." "I'll gladly take on everything else, and let's have lots of kids. I'm sure we'll be great parents," Johnny said. "That sounds wonderful," Pam whispered with tears of happiness in her eyes. She hoped it would all come true. Whether Johnny was just a lucky person whose dreams had a way of coming true, or whether their right actions led to results, their life really did start to improve rapidly over time. Johnny got a job at a promising company where his skills were finally appreciated. Pam followed her husband's example, leaving her previous job where there was no prospect of success. Her new position didn't promise riches, but had the potential for growth, and that was the main thing. Around that time, they also got their own apartment, though it was mortgaged. But it was theirs. Oh, how happy they were entering their new home for the first time. Bright, spacious, and cozy, even though it was almost empty and required a significant investment for a quality renovation. All these seemed like such small details in life, especially remembering where they started their journey. Shortly after, Pam found out she was pregnant. This long-awaited event brought the couple even closer. They smiled and thanked God for blessing them with a baby at the right time, just as they had started to get on their feet. Dave, a fair-haired and big-eyed boy, was born on time and turned their lives upside down. He was a restless baby from birth, fraying their nerves. But even during the hardest and most sleepless nights, Johnny and Pam were happy. The child, a product of their deep love, was truly a gift from above. When Dave turned 1, a terrible event occurred. Johnny got into an accident. Pam would never forget that day. She had gone for a walk with her son, fortunately taking her mobile phone with her. She felt calm and relaxed, as Dave's troubling cough had finally passed, and she had managed to get some rest and regain her strength. Johnny had promised to come home for lunch, visit the family, and pick up some important documents. A pot of fresh chili, which she had worked on all morning, waited patiently on the stove. The house was warm and cozy, and the atmosphere was one of happiness and harmony. But then, one phone call changed everything. Hearing from a stranger that Johnny had been in an accident and was in critical condition, Pam couldn't believe it at first. She pulled the phone away from her ear, looking around as if trying to focus on the reality around her. She continued the conversation, carefully analyzing every word. Then realization struck a terrifying and heavy blow. She lost her sanity from grief. If it weren't for Dave beside her, who knows what might have happened next? Gathering herself as best she could and calming down, she sought support from her parents and went to the hospital, where she learned all the details. The accident, a foolish and random occurrence, almost cost Johnny his life. The doctors unfortunately couldn't give any positive prognosis. They just shrugged, attributing everything to God's will. They had done everything to bring him to consciousness, but what would happen next was unknown. The injuries were severe, and unfortunately his spine was affected. "I'm sorry. You understand the situation is serious," the doctor said. "I understand," Pam replied with a trembling voice, not fully comprehending the situation. "But I believe he will recover. He will come back to us. We're a family, Johnny. We will endure everything. We will do everything possible. I promise. But his spine. He will walk. Don't doubt it. Johnny is strong. He will overcome this, you'll see." The doctors were amazed by this fragile woman's faith, immense love, care, and positive attitude. If only everyone had such a guardian angel. Johnny fortunately soon regained consciousness and began intensive treatment. It took immense effort, time, and resources for him to return to a somewhat normal life. It was painful, terrifying, and sometimes so hard that they wanted to give up, but Pam's support never allowed that. She became his guardian during that period. How could he forget what Pam did for him? He had certainly made the right choice once. When Pam discovered her second pregnancy, unexpected but joyful, she was convinced that everything in this world happens for a reason. Sam seemed sent to their family to bring a full sense of happiness. By then, Dave had grown and needed a sibling. That's how another boy, very much like Johnny, was born. "Oh my God, Johnny, what a blessing," Pam whispered contentedly, laying their newborn in the crib. "We have 2 kids now. Dave is 5 and Sam is just a month old. It feels like we've always had each other. Our life has turned out so wonderfully, and this is just the beginning, Pam. Just the beginning." Finishing the last cup, Pam turned off the water and sighed. Her heart was pounding again. "This won't do," she said aloud. "If I keep driving myself crazy like this, I won't make it till morning. Maybe a double dose of sedatives tonight won't hurt." After finally putting the kids to bed and preparing herself for rest, Pam, on wobbly legs, made her way to the bedroom and, barely laying her head on the pillow, fell into a deep sleep. The fatigue and tension, combined with the sedative, did their job. Mama, are you sleeping?" Dave shook Pam's shoulder, frightened. She barely managed to come to her senses, her head pounding. "Why are you up so early? Isn't it time to get ready for school?" the boy said, pointing to the clock. "It's already late. Did we oversleep?" Pam decisively got up from the bed, but feeling dizzy had to lie back down. "Mama, are you in pain?" Dave seemed to notice everything. "No, I'm fine," she answered, realizing she couldn't manage on her own today. "Bring me the phone, please. I want to call Grandma over." Half an hour later, a frightened mother arrived to help her daughter. Seeing Pam's condition, she didn't immediately understand what had happened but refrained from asking questions. First, she needed to help with the grandkids. After making a quick breakfast and getting the boys ready, she rushed them off to school and kindergarten, then returned to Pam. "Now tell me, Pam, what happened?" she asked gently, sitting on the bed. "It's just my blood pressure, Mama. I'm very pale and my head is spinning. Maybe it's a migraine. You always told me to take care of myself, to get checked out, but I never listened. Always thinking about others, never myself." "You must have been very worried," Pam whispered in response. "I took a strong dose of sedative last night. Maybe that affected me. I don't know, Mama. Thank you for coming. You really helped me. If it weren't for you. Pam's voice trembled, and unexpectedly she burst into tears. The woman tried to remain calm. First, let's measure your blood pressure and take a pill if necessary. Then we'll talk about everything else. Health comes first, remember. About an hour and a half later, after her blood pressure had dropped and Pam felt much better, they resumed the important conversation. Now let's get back to why you were crying, dear, her mother sighed heavily. I noticed that Johnny's shoes are gone. Did you two fight? Is that why you're so upset? My dear, you're worrying over nothing. In married life, things happen. Did you forget? He has another woman, Mama, Pam said dryly, lowering her eyes. What? Her mother laughed nervously. Johnny? Another woman? That can't be. I didn't believe it at first either, Pam smiled sadly. But yesterday, he confessed everything to me. For how long? I don't know, Mama. I didn't think to ask, Pam laughed bitterly. It doesn't really matter how long. What matters is that he looks so happy and in love. He seems completely smitten. Honestly, Mama, I'm so scared. I don't know how to go on. Yesterday, I even thought about... Stop right there, her mother ordered strictly, cutting her off. I never want to hear you say such horrible things again. Yes, betrayal is a tragedy, especially when it happens so unexpectedly. I'm just as shocked as you are. But dear, you mustn't give up. You have to hold on. You have your children to think about. As for Johnny, who knows what led him to this sinful affair? Maybe he's going through a crisis of some sort. Remember what he went through in the past, barely surviving, then having Sam. All of that can cause stress. No, Mama, I don't justify infidelity. It's disgusting. But I try to assess the situation rationally, to see all angles, find the reason. Find the reason? Pam smiled wryly. I've been doing that for the past 24 hours. I keep replaying our life together in my mind, trying to understand where I went wrong. He loved me, Mama, truly. I felt needed, important, and loved in every cell of my body. After everything we went through in 13 years of marriage, after having 2 children, I thought our happiness was unbreakable. Turns out I was wrong. Were there any problems recently? That's the thing, Mama. There weren't any obvious problems, at least none that I noticed. Yes, the past few years have been tough. Johnny's terrible accident, the birth of our second child. It was very hard for Johnny for a long time. He was often angry, wanted to give up, and was exhausted from the grueling recovery. I wonder how I didn't notice he was infatuated with someone else. They say women can sense everything, but I was so busy with the kids in the house that I missed it. Can you imagine? And Johnny had convincingly asked me not to go back to work, to focus on the house, and now he's blaming me for it. Me, who invested so much energy, love, and care, neglecting my own health. Now I think, when he came home tired and irritable, blaming work and failures, was it really about her? Oh, I tried to talk to him, worrying about his mental state, to find out the cause and help, but it was all in vain. I wonder why he didn't leave sooner. Did he pity us, or was he unsure of his choice? And now he's sure he loves her. How can I survive this, Mama? How can I handle the kids alone? How do I help them in this situation? I don't understand anything. My head is spinning. Pam, dear, her mother said, feeling her daughter's pain and barely holding back her tears. Come here. First, you need to calm down. Try to turn off your emotions and think about practical matters. Make a plan. It will be easier that way, believe me. Since Johnny already left, taking some of his things, let him do it completely. No need for unnecessary back and forth. He should come to the children, explain his position. Don't let him put that burden on you. You are both parents to those boys, and that shouldn't be forgotten. Then let him file for divorce if he's made up his mind. Once that process starts, there will be more clarity, and things will get easier. There's nothing worse than uncertainty. Once you mourn and come to terms with the truth, it will be easier. You'll divide the property according to the rules. He won't leave you penniless. That's good too. If you need help, your father and I are here for you, Pam. You're not alone. Don't worry. And start looking for a job. You loved working in a team, remember? And you always loved your profession before family life took over. Now is the time to remember all that. I feel so scared, Mom. Like the ground has been pulled from under me. Like my heart has been ripped out of my chest. Like my past life has been erased, and a new one hasn't been given. What did you expect, dear? Stepping out of your comfort zone is always painful and difficult. Such stress. But you are so young and strong. You will endure and overcome this. I believe in you. As for Johnny, let God judge him. If he didn't appreciate having such a good person by his side and betrayed you, let him go his own way. Unfortunately, many men do this. They take everything from their wives, get back on their feet with their support, and then start looking elsewhere, forgetting who was with them from the start, who they should cherish and love till the end of their days. They're foolish, thinking the new fling will provide unforgettable emotions constantly and won't demand anything in return. I've seen so many such cases in my life. Most of them end up disappointed, start to wander and beg to return to their wives. Then it's up to the woman to decide. What would you do, Pam? Pam thought for a moment. I would forgive him, Mom, because I love him very much and can't imagine my life without him. Well then, congratulations on becoming officially single, Johnny said with a smile after the divorce was finalized. I hope you don't hold a grudge against me. God knows we had some great times together. Congratulations to you too, Pam cut him off sharply, unable to listen to his sweet talk any longer. Parting with her beloved man was extremely painful. During the day, she managed to hold herself together by taking on extra responsibilities to avoid thinking about Johnny. But at night, she gave in to her emotions, cried a lot, and thoroughly analyzed the events. Initially, Pam tried to cope with the loss on her own, but realizing how hard it was, she sought professional help. They also advised her on how to help the children handle the divorce more gently. With the support of her parents, Pam eventually started looking for a job. Johnny did provide some financial help, but did so reluctantly. Perhaps his new lover required more significant investments, or maybe he was facing difficulties at work again. No one knew for sure. Pam never interfered with her son's relationship with their father. She was genuinely happy when the children seemed a bit happier and more joyful after spending time with him. How did the interview go? Her mother asked anxiously when Pam returned home. How did it go? Pam whispered, wanting to create suspense. It went great, Mom. They hired me, can you believe it? I don't know if it was my resume, my past achievements, or if the director was just understanding, but they hired me. Oh, that's wonderful, her mother beamed. Congratulations, my dear. It looks like your life is getting back on track. If only a job could fix everything, Pam sighed, her heartache still very much present. Time, dear. You need time, believe me. Pam, aren't you going home? A colleague asked, surprised. The workday is over. I know, Cindy. Pam smiled slightly. I just decided to stay a bit longer to double-check some documents. You know how messy things have been lately. I admire your attention to detail and responsibility, her colleague replied warmly. Honestly, I'm glad you joined our company 5 years ago. You have a lot of potential. I hope you know that. Just don't stay too long. Your kids are waiting at home. You need to recover somehow. Thank you for the kind words, Pam said, genuinely touched. Despite the challenges, she had never regretted joining this company. Checking the last document and placing it in a folder, Pam smiled contentedly and sighed with relief. After a brief stretch to ease her back, she turned off her laptop, turned out the lights, and stepped outside. The weather was simply beautiful, and her mood noticeably improved. Pam, finally you're free, a familiar voice called out nearby, startling her. She turned to see Johnny. Didn't recognize me? He whispered. Johnny, Pam said, barely able to look at her ex-husband. They hadn't seen each other since he decided to radically change his life after the divorce and move to another city with his lover. What are you doing here? Why are you back? I've been looking for you, Johnny began awkwardly. I came back to our city. The climate and everything are better here for me. He approached her closely, so close she could feel his warm breath and smell his familiar scent, which she had thought she had forgotten. She closed her eyes, trying to snap back to reality. What do you think you're doing? Pam asked sternly. Did you fight with your lover and decide to come back? Do you think you can disappear and then reappear in my life just like that? Do you think I was waiting for you all this time? Saying these words was incredibly hard for Pam. No matter how brave she tried to appear, no matter how happy and calm she looked on the outside, she still suffered inside, loved him, and missed him terribly. Pam, I was a fool, Johnny said, looking directly into her eyes. I made the wrong choice in my life. I left and betrayed the most important people in the world. I don't know what came over me, like a foolish delusion. I've realized my mistake with time. I understand that forgiving this isn't easy. I know the hurt and pain will trouble you for a long time. But please, give me a chance to make things right. We have so much to strive for and compromise on. We've been through so much together. We have children after all. I'm very sorry for leaving our kids without a father's attention and involvement for a while. I want to come back. I want to regain your trust. Yes, I stumbled and fell, but I've gotten up. Hear me, Pam. Once you saved me, becoming almost my guardian angel. Save me again, please. Extend your hand to me. I need you so much. I love you. Enough, Pam whispered, sobbing. Johnny, stop. I can't listen to this. It hurts too much. Leave, please. Just leave. Even if I want to make things right? Johnny exclaimed in bewilderment. Do you really think it's that simple in life, Johnny? Want to hear the truth? I loved you sincerely, with loyal and pure love. I believed in you and our family until the end. I always fought and tried to make everything even better. Sometimes I even forgot about myself, giving everything to you. I thought it was right, logical, and natural because I was a wife and mother. How else? But I didn't consider that too much love and care can sometimes backfire, making a woman dependent and vulnerable. It's good if the husband understands this and never stabs her in the back, but instead helps lighten her load, helps her re-engage with society, and always stays by her side, loving and valuing her. In our case, you did something terrible. You betrayed me so cruelly and disgustingly after everything we went through. You just stepped over our family, erased our happy years, prioritizing only your own comfort and pleasures. Remember how you left, savoring every word, causing me immense pain, humiliating me over and over with stories about your new fling, comparing and devaluing me. Did you think about how hard it was for the kids all this time? Many people make mistakes, yes, but not all mistakes can be corrected. Once I was convinced I would forgive you. Honestly, every night before bed, I prayed for reconciliation and for you to come back to the family. Why? Because I loved you and couldn't imagine life without you. But now, standing here, with you begging for forgiveness, I realize I can't. Your betrayal wounded my soul so deeply that nothing can fix it. So Johnny, you don't need to come here anymore or seek me out. Your guardian angel has left for good. Now you'll have to deal with everything on your own.